When I was about 7, my mother started letting me stay up to wait for my father when he came home from the hospital. My father was doing his residency in surgery, and I oftentimes didn't see him for a number of days at a time. And so when he came home one night, I'd be able to have a chance to have some dinner with him before my mother sent me off to bed. And one night, after a particularly long time before I'd seen my father, when he was sharing some of his steak with me, I told him, I said, "Daddy, you know, when I grow up, I want to work in the hospital. I want to work in the hospital so that I can see you every day and be with you." Aw, go ahead. And I started going through all the jobs that I thought I could have. And my father said, "Well, why don't you want to be a doctor?" And I said to him, "Daddy, I didn't know girls could be doctors." And my father said, "You can be anything. You can be anything." And I went to bed really feeling kind of jacked up. And, you know, understanding that and knowing that because of what my father told me was a very heady experience. It wasn't always easy for my brothers to live with a sister like that, but I always figured they'd get over it, right? Well, fast forward to when I become a parent, and I'm getting ready to tuck my own daughter into bed, and she stops me, and she goes, "Mama, what do you do?" And by this time, I was thinking, oh, this is great. So I spend the time telling her what it means to be in the Navy and what it's like to serve our country, what it meant to be one of the 1% who get to wear the uniform of the nation. And then I told her that in addition to being in the Navy, one of the other privileges I had was taking care of patients and making sure that they were all right, that if they had something, that maybe I could help them. I could take them to surgery and help them get better. And for those of you that are parents in the audience, you're going to know this experience. I was having one of those really proud mom moments where my daughter was totally transfixed on me and was listening to every word I was saying. Doesn't happen often. But while she was listening to me, and as I finished telling her what I did, I remember her looking at me with these huge eyes and these long lashes, and she just stayed with me the entire time that I'm telling her this. And when I finally came to an end, she said, "Mama, can boys be doctors too?" So I'd realized something had happened from the time that my dad told me that I could do anything to the time that my daughter would ask me if boys could be doctors too. And I have to confess, I hadn't really been very thoughtful or intentional. I just knew that what I was trying to do was set a good example. And so in that moment, I realized I have to be a little bit more purposeful about what I'm doing and what I'm doing to prepare for my daughter's future. And so that's the first epiphany that I want to share with you about moonshots, and at least my personal moonshot. And that is, I think it's extremely important that you have the confidence to know that you can do anything. And you have to be able to embrace that and own it and know that when you set out to do your moonshot, that you can do anything. Now, between the time that my dad told me I could do anything and the time that my daughter asked me if boys could be doctors, I did something in between those years. I went to medical school, and I did that on a military scholarship. And then I did my residency in surgery. Now, I did that in the Navy, and at the time in the Navy, there were only about 25% of us that were women. But in the medical field and in surgery, it was just a little bit more skewed. And as a matter of fact, in my training program, I would be the first woman who graduated from the general surgery program, but I was the second woman to start. And the reason that this is something that I point out is that there was something else that my father told me. And I think that as I listen and I remember to some of the things that he told me about this journey I was taking, was that he reminded me that you don't have to give up who you are in order to become what you want. And he knew that as I was going on this journey through medicine and surgery and in the military, that there might be some people I would encounter that didn't necessarily share his view that I could do anything. And as a matter of fact, I would probably be in many situations where I would look around and probably recognize that there weren't very many people that looked like me. So it was really important that my father, who actually ended up being the very first feminist that I met, who helped instill in me that I could be, and that I could be whatever anything I wanted, and that he didn't need to give up who I was or who I am to become what I wanted to be. And so that's the second epiphany that I've had about moonshots. And that is, you have to have the courage to be who you are and not feel that you have to take on the characteristics that don't belong to you in order to fit in a journey that is going to be daunting to begin with. And I think that's an important thing, because what my father told me and showed me in these times is that by being able to remain true to myself and being able to keep the objective and the future in focus, that I could stay on this path. Now, part of my journey also, as you heard in my introduction, had to do with being in the Navy. And just to give you a sense of scale, there are about 300,000 Navy sailors in the United States. We're your Navy. We go to distant places to defend the open waters and to defend our country. But of that 300,000, only 300 of us are privileged enough to become admirals. And as a matter of fact, when I got to my last job, it turned out that that job would require a promotion to 3 stars. Now, the thing about being a 3-star admiral, which is equivalent to being a 3-star general, is that the president has to nominate you, and the Senate has to confirm your appointment. So as I was getting ready for this job, and I was thrilled beyond belief, because this meant that I was going to have the opportunity to oversee a very large medical health system for the entirety of the military. It was an incredible opportunity, and I was not only flattered, but I was incredibly humbled by this. But as I was getting ready for my promotion, one of my aides came to me and told me, "We're going to have to rearrange the date of your promotion." And if you don't know me, I'll tell you, one of the things that was disappointing to me, part of what I really enjoyed being in the Navy and being a physician was being able to tackle just about any problem or any job or any project. And when my aide came to me and told me that I was going to have to put the brakes on it, I was not feeling really good about this. And I said, "Well, why is that? Why do I have to delay my promotion?" Well, it turns out that they had to do something that I hadn't even considered. It turns out that I had to special order my shoulder boards because they'd never had a female medical 3-star admiral before. So I thought there's got to be another way around this. But as I was reflecting on that, it also made me realize about moonshots, and that is that sometimes you're going to have to challenge the convention. You're going to have to rock the boat and break a few molds in order to make this happen. And so as I've had this opportunity to come to TEDxBerkeley, and I'm very appreciative of this because, as I mentioned, this is like my own personal moonshot, what I'd like to leave you with is, whether you're working on your own personal moonshot or you're working with a part of a collective moonshot, always, always have the confidence to believe that you can do anything. And have the courage to be true to yourself and not give up who you are in order to become what you need to become or what you want to become. And finally, make sure that you're ready to challenge the convention so that you can continue to rock a few boats, that you can break a mold, and in some cases, break a few ceilings in order to make it happen. But I think more importantly about any moonshot is understanding why we're doing the moonshot in the first place. And for me, a moonshot means that I'm making it a lot easier for those that are coming behind me. And that whatever moonshots I'm able to accomplish will make those that follow me make it easier for their opportunities to pursue their own moonshots. Thank you very much.